it features one of the most prominent minds in the world of psychology, Dr. Sigmund Freud.
Indeed, Richard. While we're talking about the man himself, tonight we'll be looking more into the inspirations that led him to formulate some of the most groundbreaking theories in the world of psychology.
A year ago, the world lost one of its greatest psychological pioneers, Dr. Sigmund Freud, who passed away on the 23rd of September 1939 due to a morphine overdose at his residence, number 20, Mansfield Gardens at 0300 hours.
Regrettable indeed. Now, let's take a look at the early life of Dr. Sigmund Freud. Born in Moravia on the 6th of May 1856, Sigmund Freud was the firstborn to his mother. Later, when Dr. Sigmund Freud turned 4, his family was forced to move to Vienna, where he would stay till the year 1938.
He graduated from the University of Vienna in 1881, specializing in neurology. In 1885, he started working at the Salpêtre Hospital on hysteria and hypnosis under Jean-Martin Charcot. These were tiny steps in his life which would lead to him making giant footprints in the sands of time.
And what a vast presence he had become in the world of psychology. During the time period of 1893 to 1896, Freud worked in association with Joseph Breuer on the case of Anna O, which led to the conception of the studies of hysteria, introducing the idea that the symptoms of hysteria were symbolic representations of traumatic memories, often of a sexual nature.
In 1896, he coined the term Psychoanalysis, from which the theory of psychoanalysis came into existence, which is now renowned worldwide.
The year 1896 was a year filled with ups and downs in the life of Dr. Sigmund Freud. And who better to talk about this year than his own biographer, Dr. Max Scher. Welcome to the show, Dr. Scher.
Good evening, gentlemen, and thank you. I am indeed honored to be here with you all.
Dr. Scher, you are leading authorities in the life of Dr. Sigmund Freud. The year 1896, said to be a significant year in his life. Could you elaborate a little more on that year?
Unfortunately, you're right, Richard. The year 1896 proved to be quite tumultuous in the life of Sigmund. In April of that year, he presented his paper in etiology on hysteria, where he first outlined his seduction theory. This theory showed a relation between early childhood sexual experiences and adult mental illnesses. However, he was later to disregard this. Shortly after the death of his father Jacob in October, he began to reconsider his whole seduction theory. In a letter to his colleague William Fleiss in September of 1897, he outlined 4 reasons for doing so. One of the main reasons was that this theory had not helped him to successfully treat a single patient. He also began to believe that the unconscious mind could not quite distinguish between reality and fiction. Apart from this, he also observed that unconscious memories of psychotic patients never quite revealed early childhood sexual experiences. But however, I believe that he could not quite come to terms with the fact that fathers were being accused of sexual perversion, as hysteria was quite common amongst his siblings.
So Freud was forced to admit that his seduction theory was wrong. What is his reaction?
Well, the abandonment of his seduction theory with no Oedipus complex to replace it, along with the fact that he is a middle-aged man who was yet to achieve the fame that he desired, made him sink even further into his midlife crisis.
So the man some people believe to be a legendary figure turned out to be just an ordinary human being. How do you deal with this crisis?
That's a good question, Richard. Well, you see, after the death of his father in 1896, Sigmund began analyzing himself, which became particularly hard on him in the late 1890s. It is said that he suffered from neurosis, but he also suffered from self-doubt, depression, and a severe obsession with his death. While it is said that this obsession left a severe watermark on his subsequent theories, it could also be the reason for the inclusion of the death drive in his essay Beyond the Pleasure Principles, which he published in the year 1920.
Thank you very much, Dr. Scher, for this valuable input.
The Interpretation of Dreams, said to be Freud's greatest work, was created in the year 1889. Freud used his own dreams as material. The most famous of these dreams is called Irma's injection, which is a dream he had on the night of July 23rd, 1895.
The next person whom we'd like to introduce has a deep connection to this dream. In fact, she is the woman of the dream, who was given the name Irma by Freud to maintain anonymity. Irma, we are glad you could be on the show with us.
I am delighted to be here as well.
Irma, when you first realized that Sigmund Freud had used a dream involving you as material for the interpretation of dreams, what was your first reaction?
Honestly, I was taken aback at first. However, later on I started reading up on the theory a little bit, as well as the analysis of the dream in which I featured in.
And what is your view on Freud's work and the analysis of dreams?
I'm not really a psychologist, but what I believe is that in the interpretation of dreams, Freud basically states the fact that dreams are merely wish fulfillments. And as for the analysis of the dream Irma's injection, here I believe that Freud is basically substituting individuals in real life with the people in the dream, like friends, family members, and patients. In his inner conscience, Freud was thinking about the medical mistakes he had made, and subconsciously he was trying to get rid of the guilt caused by them and put the blame on somebody else.
Your opinion about Freud's view does give us food for thought, Irma. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Moving on, let's talk about the next most significant event in the psychologist's life, the First World War.
World War I from 1914 to 1918 was a catastrophic event that took millions of lives.
This period of darkness, grief and death had a profound effect on Freud and his thinking. In fact, it was a turning point in his perspective.
And to elaborate more on this, we'll be having another special guest over on the show tonight, Dr. Alfred Ernst Jones, a lifelong friend and colleague of Dr. Freud.
Welcome, Dr. Jones. We are glad that you could set aside some time to be here with us tonight.
Thank you.
Dr. Jones, you worked with Dr. Freud during and post the World War I period. What do you think was the impact that the World War I left on the theories of Dr. Freud?
Freud and I go a long way back. During World War I, Freud was observing the soldiers and civilians affected by physical and mental trauma. While examining them, he noticed aberrations in his theory. One of the major problems he encountered was the repetition of war trauma. When Freud worked with the people, he noticed that the subjects often tend to repeat or reenact these traumatic experiences. He was unable to satisfactorily explain the psychological condition of these people using the pleasure principle. So he was forced to search for another principle beyond the pleasure principle, and that is where the concept of death drive comes into existence.
Interesting. Was there any other theory that was influenced during this period of his life?
If I remember right, in 1917, Freud wrote an essay called Mourning and Melancholia, which he had created by observing the people mourning for their loved ones who got perished in World War I. In that particular essay, Freud clearly mentioned that mourning is painful but inevitable part of life. However, melancholia was his term for psychological refusal of a mourner to decathetized from the lost one.
Thank you very much for expressing your point of view, Dr. Jones.
Now, moving on to the later days of Dr. Sigmund Freud. In the last years of his life, his health started deteriorating at a rapid rate. He suffered from buccal cancer and underwent 34 surgical procedures for it, which were unsuccessful. Towards the end, the doctors rendered his jaw unusable. He was administered morphine under his request for euthanasia and was confirmed dead at 3 a.m. on the 23rd of September last year. This was the end of Dr. Sigmund Freud.
That's a wrap at this bulletin, ladies and gentlemen. This is Richard Jacob
And Clifton Armstrong.
signing off for the evening. Good night and God bless.